Okay, before we start this episode, I would like to quickly arrange our previous process and also review what we have done before. So all these are our input control. We can we can align it and make it more have more distance with our batteries here. First, we use grep to control to create some point and use this point to create actually point and lines. We use this point and lines to create a basic shoulder plan. And let's group this, name it shoulder plan. And after actually I can, well, for example, this one, we can use a integer to replace this uh, number slider because integer have a smaller is a smaller battery, but it's also it's also working. And add to group. So this one, add to group. So this is how we create our shoulder plan, and this part, the second step is we create a rotation for the plan. And first we use a shoulder plan to create a rotation axis, which is let's see, which is the red axis here. It's not obvious, but it's the red axis here. And we also rotate our plan because we want the plan to facing us. And here we have the first rotation, and we use this new rotated plan to generate a new axis, which is the green axis here, to uh, drive our further rotation on the geometry. And finally we got the plan we want, and we use this plan as our base for our upper arm. So let's group this part as rotation, name it plan rotation. And with this result, we can have our we can begin to build our rectangle here with domain, of course. And with this rectangle, we build our forearm, which we can control the rotation and, of course, the size. So this is what we have done. And here I can this is division. For this division, we don't need a slider, so we can change it also to integer. Set it to 2. This just makes the canvas more clear. And I can also show you an interesting function that is cluster, I think the name. So let's select all the uh, batteries and middle click. Here is a package called cluster. What this do is the this cluster actually pack all the batteries into one, so this makes our scene more clean. uh, and this is how it work. Also, we can copy paste this one and use it for other things. And by double click, we can open it up and arrange it or set other values. That's how it works. So this is our box generator. We can name it box. Here. So this is everything we have done in the last part, and we can also mm, let's. I think that's already more clear enough. And what we're gonna do is we will use our box here, use it to generate a surface, to generate a plane, and to build our forearm. And that's our plan. And let's begin. Now we can start to build our forearm. To build our forearm, we need two more input, and we can see the value would be forearm length, and edit it forearm arm, and the value would be from 2, 2, okay, and of course, uh, as we move our elbow, we can find that the elbow is not that flexible as our shoulder. So here we will set only one rotation, and that will control the forearm movement, and of course a radius here, radius here, and these are also all the input for our forearm. And let's begin to build our box. So first we need a grep destruction to get all the geometry data input we need, and of course list item and a slider which make it first make it 8. We actually need to use this list item several times, so let's copy paste first. And the first thing I want to create is a surface, is this surface, because we can actually generate our box with this surface. So let's first choose surface and select it. Yeah, number 5 is what we want. And with this surface and uh, box rectangle, and with this surface and height value, here we got our forearm. It's already here, and next thing we want to do is rotate it. And to rotate it, it requires a plane and two axes that define our plane, right? So first, let's find the center point of this surface, which we can use here, area. Yeah, area is to find the center of a surface, just like the volume we have used before. And volume is find a center of a 3D object, and area is just for 2D plane. So let's set this as input, and we can find the center. We can use this as our plane origin, and let's find construct plane construct. construct plan. Yeah, and set this center as our origin. And what we need more now is two axes to define the plan, right? So let's set H as input or to this two item list, and choose what we need. Yeah, we actually need this as our y-axis, and choose another line here as our x-axis. So now we have our plan. We can have a look at. Yeah, it's the red one is the x-axis, which is the rotation we need for our box. So get a rotation. Geometry input would be our forearm box, and the center would be the area calculate center here, and set our input, and the axis would be the uh, let's have a look at this plan. The rotate axis would be the red one, which is the x-axis of this plan. So again, we need to deconstruct this plan. Construct plan and use the red one, which is x-axis here, and let's check it. Now the rotation is right. The rotation is happened. We face the problem we have before again. That is uh, the the rotation is actually not facing us, but to the back, and we want to change it. Before we use rotate plan to fix this problem, but actually there are another way to fix this. That is make the input uh, reverse reverse the radiance input actually, but this reverse didn't work maybe for other data, but for this one, this value it didn't work, so we just in type minus value in our expression here, and here we got the minus the reverse value of the input, and let's check it. Now it's working, and we can also check it with when this forearm have complex rotation. Right here, it follows the rotation of our upper arm perfectly. So here we got our forearm. And next, we are going to create our hand. For the hand, we need several input. The first is hand uh, length, which would be 202, and set it hand length and hand thick. This is our value, and of course a rotation of hand. So this is our input value of hand, and of course radians for the rotation. And let's build our box now. So this is our forearm box, and let's hide everything, and only show what information we need. And the first thing we need is a grep destruction, and set as. We can also hide it. Of course, we need a lot of list item and serial number. Okay, so let's copy paste several of them. At least we need a surface and we need a line. We need two lines as axis. This maybe is what all we need. And first, let's generate a surface and change the value. So this is a basic surface of our hand, and we can use this to create the basic box of our hand, and use hand length as our height here. So this box is a basic hand of our uh, model, but actually the hand is thicker than our arm usually, so we need to scale this box in this direction. So now we need a scale non-uniform. Yeah, non-uniform because we only want it to scale on the z-axis. And the geometry would be our box, and what we need here is a plane. The plane is like uh, the base you which you want to scale to, and so what is perfect for us is surface here. We can actually use this surface here as our plane. So let's try to create this surface with grep, and of course list item and surface box. So number 7, this is surface we need, and arrange it a little bit, and I think that would be our box geometry, and use this surface as a plane. And here let's use a decimal number to check the whether it work. So we want it to scale on the z-axis. So scale z. Yes, it's working, like you can see here. So now we can hide everything. Just leave the hand box here. And what we're gonna do next is we're gonna rotate our hand. So before rotation, we need, of course, a rotate battery, rotate 3D, and also we need input angle. And let's first fix the input value of scale here. So this number is actually, uh, if it's 1, it's the same size as our arm breadth here actually. So the decimal number is actually, we can calculate with division, which we will use our hand thick as input, and the input B would be our arm breadth, which is this value, and set it as the input B, and let's check it. Yeah, that's a decimal number, and this number can be used as our scale value here. And so we can delete this slider. So now we can control the thick of our hand. with our hand thick input here. So that's what we want. And then next, let's set the rotation. So as I mentioned several times, in our case here, we want our rotation to be controlled very carefully. So we need to build a plan first, and this to build this plan, we want the rotation located at this point here, and uh, the axis would be this direction. So this is how our hand will rotate around our wrist. So let's build our plan and the axis. Let's first extract our line. So this is a line we're gonna use, and we need to find the center of this line. So divide curve, and let's use integer and set it to 2. So this is how we can find our middle point, and again use list item to choose the point. List item to choose the point. I think that would be 1. Yes, 1 is the center point we need, and build our struct plan. Construct plan. The origin point would be our center, and the y axis. This line can be used as y axis, and now we need x axis. So again, we use list item here. This is perfect. Here. Now we have our plan, and it's located exactly at the center point of the forearm. And now let's have a look at this plan. The rotation axis we want to use is this green y-axis here. So let's deconstruct our plan. The reason why we have to build our plan first and deconstruct it is with this construct plan we can define the location of the origin point. So when we extract the y-axis will go through the center point here. So that's why we have to build it first and deconstruct it. And let's use the y-axis as our rotation x, and the center would be the center point. Center point here. Yeah, the center point. And the geometry would be our hand. Now let's check it. First, let's hide everything, and only the hand we need, and let's rotate it. Yeah, it's perfectly working, and we can also check with more complex rotation. Rotate our arm, the hand also follow, and rotate our forearm here. I think it's perfect. So this is how our arm is built, and our process here, and also arrange our scene a little bit. So for the forearm, we actually have built a grip first, and get a surface from the upper arm, and get 2 lines from upper arm with list item, and we generate our box with the surface we get, and the height input. So this part would be the box, generate box, and let's group it. Box, and then we use our line here, and we use area to calculate the mid-center of the surface, and use this center and the two axes to generate our plane here, and use this, and we deconstruct this plane to get our rotation x. So this part, let's group it and then name it rotate axis. And at last, we have our rotation set. That's our geometry. So this is the whole process for our forearm. And then let's take a look at our hand. So first of all, we also prep the deconstruct the forearm, and what we get is a surface which we used to the uh, build the basic hand box. And because hand is different, it needs to be scaled. So we use this box here to generate a surface, and use this surface as base plane for the scale. And the scale input is defined by the hand thick divided by our arm breadth, and that's the scale value we got. So we can set this part as our box. How to build the box, and with the deconstructed forearm, we have our we have line, we have two line, and we find the center point of the this line, and with this line, and the point, we build our plane rotation to guide the rotation, and find the y-axis, which is used for rotation. So this part, let's group it and name it rotate axis. And at last, we got our geometry and perfectly rotate. So let's hide everything and only open up what we need. So this is how we build our arm. And in the next part, I will begin to build the other part of the body, which is the foot and our head.